sustainability and empowerment. We hear it repeated often that the Diaspora Initiative has to have longevity. It has to have posterity. Hence, they come from the general objectives and suggested outcomes that can be achieved both in the near and distant future. Both SPICO and Spice Youth Toronto Community Initiative strongly believe that seeking to develop a country is a long-term goal, and youth empowerment programs require continuity, sustainability, in order to produce more efficient outcomes in the long run. The overall objective is to provide education and training programs to youth in Grenada aimed at empowerment and social development, to facilitate linkages with youth in Grenada and in the diaspora, to support the development of programs in Grenadian education, arts, and culture among youth. Now, these are very broad objectives. Admittedly, a lot of this information is repeated information. These are the first things that come to mind when we think about how we can help. However, one of the main thrusts, for example, that came out of the meeting of the Montreal Youth Organization was the issue of NGOs, was the issue of the inclusion of non-governmental organizations in the Diaspora Initiative, and looking at how we can move the Diaspora Initiative from being just primarily an economic initiative to one that includes NGOs, non-governmental organizations, in a more real way. As it stands, the Diaspora Initiative, in our opinion, has not addressed as broadly as possible the work of NGOs as an adjunct to the work of government in fostering a positive social environment. Organizations which rely on the goodwill of citizens for their existence are most often in need of firm and frequent offers of assistance. To this end, it is proposed that NGOs be consulted in order to identify the more pressing areas of need which needs to be addressed. The diaspora can help by seeking to link these organizations to other organizations with similar mandates in their specific countries. As well, communication and maintaining connectivity in the diaspora. It is important to speak to your own situation, and Tricia and I have bonded over the fact that we left home fairly young to pursue further education, and there's always a disconnect that you feel when you get into a place that is not home. In my case, I went to the province of Quebec, which is a unilingual province whose primary language is French. And having never spoken French in my life, I had to quickly integrate into a French environment. And in fact, if I have to work in Quebec in any kind of public capacity, if I have to deal with the public, I have to speak French. And so these are the kinds of challenges that we face when we move out of the comfort of Grenada and into the diaspora. And so to that end, we wish to establish a means by which connectivity between youth groups and organizations in the diaspora exchange best practices, transfer information, and so on with organizations in Grenada. An example would be a single virtual site where information about the activities of each of the different centers can be accessed, coupled with biannual meetings, conferences to brainstorm and shape the course of the initiative through identifying innovative programs, platforms, which address the immediate needs as identified in the discussions with nationals at home. As well, diaspora centers and affiliate organizations should be a first stop for incoming nationals. Many Grenadian nationals travel abroad yearly to seek educational and other economic opportunities. Often the process of assimilation is difficult and lonely. A directory of diaspora organizations can be developed as a tool to help incoming nationals access information in a friendly air. Volunteer mentors from the diaspora can provide the service to new nationals. As well, organizational structures within the diaspora itself can be strengthened in order to make this a feasible project. Greater partnership with cultural groups. We've been talking a lot about culture and Canadian culture. In Montreal, for example, because we have this double whammy of second-generation Grenadian young people who speak French as a first language, we have to deal with the fact that not only they're not connected to Grenada, but that they're connected by language to the province of Quebec. We find that there's a communication barrier with really getting them to understand what it is about Grenadian culture that they should care less about. Also, the fact that visa restrictions have been imposed on Canada means that there has been a slowing in the influx of cultural organizations and people with cultural backgrounds that can actually come into Canada. There is a vacuum definitely on the cultural landscape, as first-generation immigrants tend to maintain a stronger sense of cultural heritage. Having cultural groups from the homeland, I can testify to this every time Heritage Theatre comes up anywhere in the diaspora. I mean, it's mayhem. Everybody's there, everybody's sitting, everybody's buying a ticket, everybody's laughing. These things matter to us in the diaspora. To this end, the Montreal DCC would like to see a process whereby groups wishing to visit or travel abroad are supported financially and administratively through relationships with diaspora organizations as well as organizations here in Grenada on the ground in the Ministry of Culture. This is an opportunity to sell Grenada's product, not just to Grenadians who are living abroad, but also to our friends at work to say there's a group coming up from Grenada, they're going to be singing traditional Grenadian songs, they're going to be playing the pan. We want you to come, we want you to see what Grenada is all about. This is a part of tourism, this is a part of marketing as well. I was very heartened a couple of months ago to open Marie Claire, that magazine, and see a whole spread of what Grenada. I mean, I took it around the office and I was showing everybody. I'm like, Grenada is in Marie Claire. These kinds of things really get us going out there, you know, in the cold, lonely North America. A youth empowerment retreat. This endeavor will aim to provide leadership skills to youth, providing soft skills of leadership, team building, personal goal setting, and so on, that are not usually the center of academic curriculums. Youth in the diaspora can engage youth at home, especially during the summer months. We really do have a vision for this. We really do have a vision for having a diaspora caravan come down from the North American diaspora, from the diaspora in Europe, come down sometime during the year when school is on, going to the centers, going to the schools, saying, here we are, this is who we are, this is what we do, this is what school is for us, etc., etc. And this is how we live, and we want to know how you live. This is not an imposition by any means. The young people in the diaspora have no more to offer than the young people in Grenada. We want to know what's going on with you as much as you want to know what's going on with us. We want to know what's going on in the Ministry of Youth so that when we make a proposal, it's pertinent, it makes sense. It's not something that's coming out of the head of somebody who's, you know, had one too much to drink out there in cold Montreal. We want to make proposals that make sense. I thank you for your attention, and I turn the floor back to Tricia to conclude. Thank you.
In concluding, we have attempted to portray as accurate a picture as possible of the youth in the Canadian diaspora by identifying both the strengths and the weaknesses and giving those what we can still contribute. FYTCI and FICO believe that youth should be the heart of this process. Youth are the future, and the inclusion of youth in the development plans ensures both the sustainability and the longevity of the development process. Therefore, it should be ensured that interest is generated and support is given by speaking the language that youth understand, and by moving at the pace that youth move, and by giving youth the latitude to grow. In other words, what I mean is that we have to use the tools, the social media tools that youth use. We have to get on Facebook, we need to get on Twitter, we need to get on Google+, if we are to ensure that youth are interested and engaged in this particular process. This presentation is a collective effort by the youth of Toronto and Montreal, representative of Canada. The ideas, proposals, contained herein are as a result of numerous conversations conducted both in structured and unstructured settings, and also from the Diaspora Youth Forum that I mentioned before. Here I would like to just pause for a moment and recognize one of our sponsors, Caribbean Airlines, who is actually responsible for my participation here today, and as well for the presence of the delegation from Toronto in terms of providing discounts for our media personnel, Mr. Barry Johnson, who's here from community radio station, CHRY, and in collaboration with the Grenada Consulate Office. I thank you for your attention.